ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
And we're back. Like we never left. It's Live Zone and Denzel here on Dynamics on the Hardwood. Another week, another hell of a basketball week to talk about here. We're going to get right into it because there's some huge news that's been going on in the last week or so. Plus, we're going to add in a little bit of history, as you know, we always do. And then we got some things that we usually don't talk about here on Dynamics on the Hardwood, but we had to bring it up if you know what we're talking about. So we'll get into that. But first, we're gonna head over into Mike Malone, obviously being fired by the Denver Nuggets. Denzel, how you feeling about it? Are we liking the move? What does this mean for the Denver Nuggets? Et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I mean, first off, I'm still trying to process it because I think it's a very difficult decision to make, especially when you fire your the winningest franchise coach in your franchise's history. And so Mike Malone won 59% of his games as a head coach, 471 wins, 324 losses. We can include, obviously, we know about the NBA championship. They won not even 2 years ago. They won an NBA. They were on top of the world 2 years ago. Yep. 44 playoff wins, 8 winning seasons, 6 consecutive playoffs made. They've won 9 playoff series throughout his tenure as a coach. By the way, the 9 playoff series that they won with Mike Malone as head coach, that is the same number of playoff series wins that they had in their first 40 seasons as a franchise. So it gives you an idea of what Mike Malone brought to the table, not just with his winning mentality, obviously a defensive-minded a coach, but also we're talking about someone who is keeping everyone accountable, and in the locker room, as well as the head coaching staff, that he kept everyone accountable. And so, which is in today's NBA is the lost art. So with Calvin Boone, I think it was just a matter of time that they were going to fire the GM as well. Calvin Boone had the position since July of 2020. The one, I don't really have much on the Calvin Boone side of things, but Mike Malone deserves better. Let's just be honest. And the way head coach Mike Brown got fired for Sacramento is the same exact way they fired him while he was on his way to the airport, getting ready to leave to go on a road trip. And that's how they fired him. That it's like the most brutal way. And with 4 games left in the regular season, I mean, that's tough. They reports say that the 4-game losing streak accelerated it. But I will say this: Josh Kroenke, the one of the head guys up there, he is the guy that ultimately made the decision in firing him and firing Mike Malone, as well as Calvin Booth. And he had not one, but 2 times where he wanted to pull the trigger. He wanted to pull the trigger at the beginning of the season. This was premeditated going into the season. And I'm like, why? I'm just trying to figure out why you would pull the trigger, why you wouldn't pull the trigger. Now, he wanted to pull the trigger ultimately going into the All-Star break. Problem is, they were on an 8-game winning streak going into the All-Star break. So there were some things that hindered and prolonged the decision from happening. But to do it with 3-4 games left in the regular season, to not give Mike Malone a chance to at least fight for his job and see what they do in the playoffs. Not saying they're not going to win the championship, or they will at least compete and play at a high level and try to at least give their best. But I don't think they would have won the title this year. I think there's better contenders out there. But with that being said, balking on the decision, not once, but twice, 4 games left. It looks so bad. It looks so bad. And on the ownership's part of the franchise to do it at this stage of the season, rather than doing it now, I think we'd be in a different conversation if this happened going into the All-Star break, need a change of pace. But on an 8-game winning streak, you're not going to pull the plug on someone, and you're winning games as you know, and you fire someone. So very difficult decision to make. There is also Nikola Jokic, based off of one of the post-game interviews that had happened after the decision was made. He knew prior to the decision happening. They kept him involved, and yes, I think there is some agreement with keeping your franchise player involved, but Nikola Jokic had no say in making that decision. He did not want, it's clear and obvious ownership had that decision made before Nikola Jokic even knew going into the season. So, and maybe he knew going into the season and it's just been snowballing up to that point. So that's where I'm at. But let's be real. Mike Malone is too good of a coach to be unemployed long. Let's just be honest here. I think there's going to be some franchises out there that are going to want to go after someone who's going to keep their players, their star players, their franchise players accountable, as well as bringing a winning mentality to an organization. But I want to get your thoughts on this before I go into a different question on this topic. But what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, I think it's in the best terms that I can, it's bullshit. Mike Malone. I mean, I'm being real with you. Mike Malone is one of, if not the best coach in this generation of basketball. I mean, ever since that new era came through, one of the coaches that you think of is Mike Malone. I personally think that he's number 2 in this generation. But hey, I think that the Nuggets really messed up here. I really do. I really think that the Nuggets have no direction now, because Mike Malone kind of was their direction. Mike Malone wanted to get veterans on the team, wanted to get guys like Russell Westbrook, wanted to get guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and give them a chance to run with a guy like Nikola Jokic or a guy like Jamal Murray. And honestly, it's one of the best decisions that they ever made was to go get Kentavious Caldwell-Pope open in the corner for the 3 in the finals all day. And if not, Caldwell-Pope then just passes it over to Michael Porter Jr. and he takes the 3-point shot, or he pump fakes and takes the mid-range 2. I mean, the team was legit. The team was ready. I think the first thing that stems from all of this is not re-signing Bruce Brown. I really do. After winning the championship, Mike Malone came out on that stage and said, hey, we're going to re-sign Bruce Brown to a contract because he is a Denver Nugget. And then after that, in the offseason, it didn't happen. Okay, well, what do they do now? Well, they go get people in the draft. They want to get younger. The office wanted to get younger, where he wanted to bring veteran leadership. It was a big disconnect there. They brought in Russell Westbrook. People thought, and I guarantee you that it has nothing to do with Russell Westbrook himself. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, Russell Westbrook is a problem in the locker room, blah, blah, blah. Something always happens when Russell Westbrook is there. Russell Westbrook was the best decision. He was the best decision that they have made in this offseason. There's not a better accusation or a better guy that could have fit that picture more than Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is a star that is unselfish enough to go sit on the bench and be a sixth man. I'm sorry, Russell Westbrook was not the problem. The problem was the head wanting to get younger and wanting to get inexperienced players to go try to win a championship, kind of
Yeah.
like how OKC is and kind of like how Houston is. Listen, when Mike Malone was on the Denver Nuggets, they were in the picture to go to the NBA Finals. If you remember, a few weeks into our podcast, with me and you, I said the favorites for the Western Conference are what two teams?
The Western Conference, we're talking Thunder, and we're talking Denver.
But what was the two teams that I said? I said it was Golden State, and I
Yeah,
said it was
Golden
the
State.
Denver,
Yeah,
and I said it was the Denver
Denver
Nuggets.
Nuggets. Yeah,
Because of that coaching staff that they had, because Mike
yeah,
Malone was at the head coach spot, because he knew what he was doing, because he's been there and he won the whole thing for the Denver Nuggets. When was the last time that the Denver Nuggets won an NBA championship before Nikola Jokic?
Hey,
Right?
crickets.
Right? Right.
One. That's all they got.
Now, Nikola Jokic is that type of guy that, he'll just go with the flow, and I respect that. I respect the hell out of Nikola Jokic. And if I was the NBA, if I was in the Denver Nuggets office, I would be making sure that he was happy with every single move that I was doing, because he is, without a shout and a doubt, the best player in the NBA right now. I love Jason Tatum. I love Luka Doncic, but they're not Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is at the top of his game right now. So I understand why he heard about it, but I agree
Right.
with you. He had no say in this, because if
Right.
he had a say, Mike Malone would still be the coach of the Denver Nuggets, and they would still be a favorites to win the NBA title and go to the NBA Finals against the Eastern Conference team. My point is that the Denver Nuggets really, really screwed up in this situation. They had two guys that were hitting heads on different ways to go win a championship, and they let the person go that knew how to win one. So yeah, I think it's once again, the easiest way to put it is it's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to your point with Nikola Jokic, by the way, for those who don't know, Nikola Jokic was drafted in 2014. Mike Malone is the only head coach that Nikola Jokic has ever played for. Like, let's get that out in the open.
Wasn't there one more?
No, Mike Malone is the only head coach that Nikola Jokic has played for.
He
That's
didn't
how
play under
crazy.
George Karl?
No, George Karl. George Karl is going back a couple of years before that. Mike Malone got I think, if I remember correctly, Mike Malone got the job in right after George Karl, which was 20.
Oh, you know
I think
what?
it
I'm
was.
thinking of Jamal. Jamal didn't
Oh, okay.
start
You're
for
thinking,
5 years.
yeah, because
Yeah,
George Karl was Carmelo Anthony in the mid to late 2000s
yeah.
and 2010
Ty
and up to
Lawson.
2010, and then I think that's where the switch went over, because Mike Malone's been the head coach there for 10 seasons, which is the fourth longest tenured coach in the NBA.
Well,
Obviously, yeah,
Jamal
yeah.
Murray played under George Karl, and he didn't play a single game for 5 years under George Karl.
I know that there's some interesting.
And George Karl's a Hall of Fame coach, and he really
George,
messed up on that one.
yeah, George
But
Karl.
I do know that Nikola Jokic came in as a backup to Nurkic. Right? It was Nurkic that was the starter.
We're gonna have to do some research on that,
I'm
because
almost positive they were on the same team, and then they traded Nurkic at like midway through the season.
Because that's a phenomenal question. I know of them drafting Rudy Gobert the year before, but they traded him away before the year they drafted Jokic. So the big thing here is that yeah, George Karl I think was up until when
Yep, it
Carmelo
was
Anthony
Nurkic.
left to go to the Knicks.
It was Nurkic.
And I think right after he left to go to the Knicks, that's when I think things just fell apart, and that was when it was time to do a rebuild. But yeah, ownership went to Jokic and talked about this whole thing. And Jokic not at one point in time ever went to ownership and say, I want to change. Like, there's been speculation of a toxic environment between Michael Malone and Calvin Booth. I don't want to hear this because I'm done listening to this.
But
There's
there
been
probably
talks
was.
about
No. But there probably was, because one was wanting something and the other was wanting another, and it was creating conflict.
and there's been a couple of times where that has happened. I absolutely agree with
Look
you.
at
Like that.
Krause and Phil
Oh,
Jackson.
oh,
It happens. Look at
that
Bill
got sour
Belichick.
big time.
Look at Bill Belichick
Kraft, yeah,
and Robert Kraft in the
yeah,
NFL. They had a lot of friction too, but that's what happens when you have great teams like this. People are not going to get along all the time, but you need to make it work for the best of your franchise. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
if you let something like that, that's petty, get in the way of championships, then you weren't ready to have those championships. You know what I mean? You weren't ready to have those great players to begin with, or those great coaches. So I just I don't know. Like I said, I'm all about winning.
yeah.
I
Same.
think I can say that for a lot of sports fans is, hey, we want to win. You know what I mean? We're not going out there to
Yeah,
lose. And all that the upper management has shown on the Denver Nuggets in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, is that they want to lose because they got rid of one of the best coaches in the NBA right now.
yeah, and um, going back to the Russell Westbrook thing, there's been talks of there being partiality being shown to Russell Westbrook. Like, what are we doing here? What are we
Bunch of
talking
BS.
about?
Hey, listen. Russell
What are we?
Westbrook is the biggest scapegoat in anything. Like, he gets blamed
Oh
for
yeah,
every little thing. He got blamed for Kevin Durant leaving. He got blamed for the Lakers not working out. He got blamed for Houston not working out. He got blamed for the LA Clippers for him leaving, even though the situation that he was in, he should have left to begin with, because he was
yeah,
promised a starting job. And then after he was promised a starting job, you bring in James Harden to replace him. I mean, and now that, like, Russell Westbrook gets blamed for absolutely everything. And the only reason why that we blame him for everything is because he's always around greatness. And that's like that's something that you can't take away from Russell Westbrook. Everybody calls him Russell Westbrook or whatever, and
yeah.
says he can't
Westbrook, yeah,
shoot or he
yeah,
can't play ball. Like everybody forgets OKC Russell Westbrook, when everybody was loving him dunking from the free throw line on heads for like nothing. You know, Russell Westbrook, without a shot in the doubt, I consider him part of the last generation with LeBron and all of them. In that
yeah.
last generation, Russell Westbrook is my favorite player in that generation. But when it comes down to it, he took something and made it look like nothing. He took the
Mhm.
triple double and made it look like we shouldn't be watching the triple double stat line anymore, because we shouldn't be impressed by this because of what Russell Westbrook did on an NBA court. Like, Russell Westbrook gets blamed for everything, and I don't understand it. I don't know why, but Russell Westbrook was not the problem. It was management, and it was the coaching staff not seeing eye to eye. That's all it was.
Yeah. And I think Michael, and this just keeps proving our point why Michael Malone deserves better, and why I think he should have gotten a chance in this year's playoffs with this current roster and how it's currently formed. But he handled Russell Westbrook's situation very well at the beginning when Russell Westbrook came in. And Russell Westbrook, I give him his flowers, because to be MVP of the league, averaging a triple double, you're coming in with your ego bloated up a little bit, because it's like,
But that's the thing. His
ACP.
ego wasn't bloated up at all. He was still Russell Westbrook. He was still going
Oh
out there
yeah,
to
no,
win
he's
games.
always going. Yeah,
He doesn't care who's on his team. He's gonna make them look good regardless. You saw it with all the guys this year in Denver. It wasn't just Jokic that he made look good. It was Washington. It
yeah,
was it was Braun. It was a bunch
yeah.
of
Christian,
players.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All the players on the bench lineup he made look like starters this year. And that's not a coincidence. That's not that yeah, people are going to say, "Hey, there was a little bit of favoritism towards Russell Westbrook." Well, no shit. He literally made the second lineup look like a starting lineup. I would favor him too. He's probably the best sixth man in the NBA, but because of his name and because he was a star at one point, he's not going to be looked at as a six man. So he's not going to win that award.
I thought, yeah, I mean, yeah, and I mean, I think ego's a little bit too much of a word, but to set aside what his accomplishments were in the past and accept the six-man role, and like you say, we're talking about Christian Brown, we're talking about Julian Strother, the
Yes.
kid out of Gonzaga. We're talking of like Nanaji. We're talking about Peyton Watson. We're talking about all these guys on the bench that I mean Russell Westbrook. Yeah, Russell Westbrook has his blunder moments. Listen, so does LeBron James, people. All right, like let's get over this here. Like things are gonna happen. The players are gonna airball. Guess what? It's gonna happen. It's part of the game. These things happen. They're human. They make mistakes, and at no point in time I ever blame the Jokic. I can't blame the players in any way, shape, or form. Jokic, Murray. I can't blame any of these guys for the decision to fire Mike Malone. I think it all came from ownership. They premeditated it, like we just talked about. And like you said, shame on them. They know better. They knew better than this. And what if I'm just hypothetically saying this here, like, what if Denver gets to the Western Conference Finals? You firing Mike Malone now? No, you get what I'm saying? Like,
Well, that's
he
the
would have.
reason why. That's the reason why they did it before the playoffs started, is because there was such a problem ego-wise between the owner and the coach, that the coach knew what he was doing and was trying to win a championship, and the owner was not having it because he wanted to win a championship his way. And
Yeah.
that's not how that works. You bring in the coach to get the clientele so you win championships. I mean, look at this roster. You have Nikola Jokic, right? You have Jamal Murray, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You have Aaron Gordon, you have Michael Porter Jr., you have Russell Westbrook, you have Christian Braun, you have DeAndre Jordan. I mean, the names go on and on and on, but they didn't want to go all in. See, that's the disconnect from me anyways, is how could the management not want to go all in on a championship team like this? You're set up. You still have your starting five that you had for the last 3 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Except for Caldwell Pope's not here.
Right,
Caldwell Pope
exactly.
got
He's the only
replaced.
one that's not. Him and Bruce Brown are the only two that are not on that roster.
Yeah, Caldwell Pope got replaced by Christian Braun, which is a great replacement. Bruce Brown should be here. We already know that. But
Yeah.
you still have your championship core team locked in, and you're not going all in on that. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't.
And
The management was obviously at a point where it was like, listen, you can either get rid of the coach or get rid of me. And he got rid of the coach instead. And it was the dumbest idea that we have seen in basketball since the Luka Doncic trade, in my opinion.
and I mean, to add on to that, maybe it wasn't Mike Malone and ownership. Maybe it might have been in terms of the team direction, who to pick up, draft picks, etc. It could. Who's to say it was not Mike Malone and Booth, the GM, and they were trying and they got into it in terms of the team direction and all these things, to the point where now you're forcing coaches, staff, and all these people to choose a side. And that creates a toxic environment that some people are speculating on. It clearly was an internal thing. The whole thing, the firing was all internal. There was nothing That like so to me, I'm just pointing out and saying this hypothetically. There's a possibility that Malone and Booth could have had separate thoughts on the direction the
Yeah,
team was going
yeah,
in, and
and that's what it was.
it created a toxic environment, pinning people against each other, staff, creating a toxic environment. And I think that's where Kroenke just came in and went, you, see ya. And
Probably.
like, it's a possibility that that could be the case. But my question to you, my friend, because what team, current roster, it doesn't matter if it's a playoff team or a team that hasn't made the playoffs, what team do you think could use a head coach like Mike Malone right now?
Any team but the Celtics. Nah.
Well, I mean, yes, obviously.
There's a lot of teams. I mean, I could see him really being benefited based off of there's two teams that come to mind, and they're both big market teams right now. And I'm looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I'm looking at the New York Knicks. Those
Oh.
are those are the two teams that I'm looking at. But here's the big thing: is does Mike Malone really want to coach in the NBA, knowing what happened now? Maybe he goes towards college because his basketball style is really a college basketball style coaching that we see. So maybe we see him move down to the college scene, where I could see him going to. This is gonna sound crazy, but what about Gonzaga? I could see him in his Zags. I can see him in Michigan. I could see him. I could see him just about anywhere in college basketball. But if we're looking in NBA, I would have to say, yeah, the two teams that are really coming to mind are the the Timberwolves and the Knicks. I could see him being on a lot of teams though. Hell, I could see him being in Memphis and making John Morant the next big thing. It could
Yeah,
happen.
and speaking of coaches being fired, Taylor Jenkins got fired from Memphis. The head
Yeah,
coach for the Grizzlies got fired too. And
yeah.
so you got two positions here with interim head coaches. And then you have some franchises that are looking to upgrade their coach. Perfect example, the Phoenix Suns is a perfect example of this. There is a massive disconnect between that roster and Mike Budenholzer. There's a massive disconnect. You can't
Didn't they
tell
just
me I'm
fire him?
wrong with that. They don't play defense. They're disengaged with their coach. There's no stability and a voice in the locker room. And to me, the failing of them making the playoffs has started widespread rumors of them making yet another coaching change. By the way, Devin Booker, the last 4 years, has had 4 different coaches the last 4 years. Like, Phoenix could use someone like that. Now, granted, there's some big heads there's some big heads on that in that locker room and in there in the locker
Suns
room.
fired him.
Oh, Budenholzer?
Yep, he got fired.
Oh, did that come up like a couple of days ago? I seen something about Budenholzer, but I wasn't sure if it was legit
He
or
got
not.
fired. Yeah, he got fired 2 days ago. Sorry.
2 days ago? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, because I was curious about that. So, I mean, Phoenix could be a potential destination, but I don't know if that's going to happen because there's all this, trading Kevin Durant, all this, Booker, Beal, like there's too much commotion going there for him to just walk through the door and try and help get that team on board with a winning system in a winning way to try and compete for a championship.
Here's a team that might be interesting is the Indiana Pacers.
Ooh.
Or what about if the Milwaukee Bucks fired Doc Rivers?
Milwaukee's what do you think of San Antonio? Do you think Greg Popovich is going to come back and he takes that, like, I'm just throwing it out there because Greg Popovich has been there for 28 years.
My honest opinion on that is I think Duncan is going to take it.
Tim,
I he was
the
on the
big
coach.
fundamental taking it.
He's on the coaching staff already, right? Or he
Yeah,
was a few years ago.
yeah, he was a couple of years ago. He's part of and so I almost kind of like I mean, San Antonio would be an attractive spot, and there's some
I see
signals
him
with
going to the Eastern Conference. Put it that way. After what happened in the West, I see him going to the Eastern Conference because I think he. I mean, I don't know.
I
There's a
like
lot
your
of
thought process with
opportunity.
the Knicks. I really do. I think the Knicks could be a potential landing spot for Mike Malone because I mean the Tom Thibodeau thing. Like you could see, there was some times this year where some of the players looked like they got frustrated. I mean, Tom Thibodeau buries his players in the ground, man, and it's like when I struggle with Jalen Brunson. I'm not saying Jalen Brunson wasn't hurt, but what if he like faked he was hurt just to get some rest? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like he like Thibodeau
I
plays those guys 42 minutes a night, man. And I'm
I
all
can
for
see Cat doing that, but I can't see Brunson doing that.
no,
Brunson's a dog.
I know. I'm hypothetically saying it. I don't
Yeah.
think it's true, but it's just like,
Here
but it's just
here's another big thought. Right.
mm,
Right now they're sitting at the 11th seed. What if the new big three on the Toronto Raptors get a coach like Mike Malone?
that would
You
be a
have
massive upgrade. That'd
you
be a
have
massive upgrade.
you have Ingram, you have Scottie Barnes, and you
Barnes, yeah.
have R.J. Barrett. And quickly, I mean, they got some
They got
pieces.
they have great pieces in Toronto, and
Yep.
and thank you for mentioning Brandon Ingram because I completely forgot that this dude. I'm still thinking this dude's on the Pelicans. I
Yeah.
completely forgot he got traded to Toronto. But yeah, I agree with you. They have the pieces. Um, I think that they. I mean, I'm not saying Jakob Portal's a bad big man. He's a solid big man, but they could use another big man there in Toronto to back up Jakob Pertl. If they think Pertl is going to be the starter, I love
He's gonna
that.
he's gonna go somewhere where it's set up for him.
Bingo.
He's
And
gonna go somewhere where it's set up for him. The teams that I'm looking at are in the because I'm looking at the Eastern Conference more than I am at the Western Conference. I'm looking at the
yeah,
Pacers. I'm looking at the Knicks. I'm looking
yeah.
at the Magic. I'm looking at the Raptors, and I'm looking at the 76ers. Those are the five teams that I'm
Oh,
looking at.
you took it out of my mouth, dude. The 76ers is another one. Um, yeah, if we're specifically talking about the East, I love the idea of the Knicks, possibly, like you say, set up for success. They have a good roster. I do believe
Or
that. I
he
huh?
could also go to the Hornets, because the Hornets have a top what is it 4 draft pick this year, and if they go
Yes.
get a guy like Johnny Broom or if they get a guy like Cooper Flag, if Cooper Flag goes up, having him and having that person and LaMelo and Nurkic all on the same team,
And then you got Miles Bridges. You got some good pieces on
yeah.
that. You got some good pieces surrounding that the ball, and especially if Flag gets if Hornets get the number one pick and they get Flag as like
Or
you have
even if they get the number 2 pick and they get Broom,
Broom, yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
you
either way,
got
you can't go
Nurkic, you
wrong.
have Mark Williams. I mean, and those are your two big men right there now on that current roster. But Ball, Bridges, I mean, I'm not complaining about seeing Flag in a
Because like,
Hornets uniform. I'm
yeah,
not.
no, I'm not either. Me personally, I think the Hornets are bound to have something go good for them. But like seeing a Cooper Flag and a LaMelo Ball, or a Johnny Broom and a LaMelo Ball, that could kind of be like your Jokic and I'm not saying that they're as big as these guys, but that could be like your Nurkic and Jamal, and then you
Yeah,
just build around those two guys. I mean, you already got the shooting guard, and what's his name? I keep on forgetting his name. Brandon Miller.
yeah,
You
Brandon
already
Miller.
got
Yeah,
you already got Brandon Miller. You trade Bridges for a three guy that could be like an Aaron Gordon type player for you, and then after that you go get another shooter that could be like a I'm trying to think of like a big man that would fit a roster like that, and then you have Nurkic on the back end too. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be done with that Charlotte
Yeah.
Hornets team if Mike Malone is put into that situation.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
but when it comes down to it, I think Mike Malone is going to be in the Eastern Conference than being
Yeah.
in the Western Conference.
Yeah. No, no, and yeah, you make some good points about how more attractive the Eastern Conference is. There's, yes, there's Boston, Cleveland,
Because it's wide open.
up and coming Detroit,
Yeah.
Orlando, but you get a head coach that gets players to buy into a system. I think you can compete with anybody, at least in the you have the A tier and then you have the B tier. I think you can compete with anyone in the B tier, be like a Pacers team or a Milwaukee team, or
hmm
like he could get a team to buy into a system, and
I
I
don't
think
think
that
he'll go to Milwaukee though. I think
I know
Milwaukee is.
that's
I think Milwaukee is just about done. I really do, and
I
that
know
that
this.
might be it might be a hot take to people, but I mean Damian Lillard just had an injury. The team's not working well together. Giannis is having one of the best years of his career, and I think that he's going to go to a place like Miami Heat that could give him more money. And if that team falls
Yeah,
apart, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I
yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if in a few years we're looking at the Milwaukee Bucks at the bottom of the barrel.
yeah.
I
I
really
mean,
wouldn't be.
I think the first domino that's going to hit is if Giannis is going to leave, or if he wants to leave Milwaukee, or if he wants to stay. And obviously, I think they assess this question going into the last year of his contract before he signed the deal he's on now, that max deal he's on now. But
I just don't
is he?
know if he'll go to Miami. I everybody would love to see him in Miami because Miami is such a great place and has great culture. But I just don't think that Giannis fits the Miami culture. I just I
I
don't
mean,
think.
if there's one thing Giannis wants to do, he want to win. Like it's
Yeah, I
he
mean, if he wants to win, that's a great place to go. But I just don't think. I think he would feel like saying Giannis would fail is a very big statement, but like I just don't think it would be. I don't think it would be like LeBron. Like LeBron was ready for Miami. LeBron was ready for the flashing lights and the Miami
yeah.
scene and I don't think Giannis wants that. I don't think like I think Giannis likes like the low key cities like a Utah or Milwaukee or something like that. That's not like a
Yeah.
big market team like that. You know what I mean? I just don't think that Giannis is that type of player. But a lot of things he could prove me wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if he did go to Miami or New York, but
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just don't think it would be the best place for Giannis because of who he is already. I just don't I can't see Giannis being looked at as a villain. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I agree.
Like
I agree. Yeah,
Giannis
Giannis is
isn't
very
LeBron.
beloved by
Yeah,
Milwaukee fans.
Giannis is not on that villain route like LeBron is, and I know that Giannis could be the next big thing, even though he already is, but I just don't know if I can see him in that villain th- theme. You know what I mean? Jimmy Butler was good there because Jimmy Butler could fit that villain theme. I just don't think that Giannis could fit that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you here. Um, my last question to you is this one. You know, there's an interim head coach in Denver. Who do you think Denver could go after to fill that head coaching position?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I know I've seen the reports. I seen who they're looking after, and I'm telling you, I don't see it happening. With what has happened with Mike Malone, same thing in Sacramento. I don't see them getting a lot of candidates because of how they treated their past coaches and how good
Yeah.
their past coaches were. I think. I think that if we do see, I don't know. I don't know who would go to Denver. I know it's not Hurley though. I know. I know.
I
I
had
know
the
that's been
feeling.
the report. I know that's been the
Yeah,
report, but I promise you he's not looking at any place other than UConn. I can promise you that.
yeah.
He loves it there. He loves being the best college head coach. Yes, I just said that. Yes, I just said that for everybody that's watching and listening. Hurley is the best college coach right now.
Oh, yeah.
And there's not even a question behind it. But I can't see him after seeing what he's done for UConn and everything. The only way that I could see Hurley moving up is if Boston head coach really opened up, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. I
Right.
think I
Yeah.
think I think he loves that New England area. But I could be wrong, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a Budenheiser. I'm looking at Memphis's old coach there. What's his
Oh,
name
Taylor
again?
Jenkins. Taylor Jenkins.
Taylor
Yeah.
Jenkins. I could see I could even see Mike Brown going there, but I can't see anybody's gonna want to coach Jokic. Anybody's gonna want to coach him.
Yeah.
Jokic is one of those guys that he's just a generational player. But based off of how they ended this coaching run with Mike Malone, I just think that tarnishes what is said on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen. You play with fire and you get burned. I mean, you buy the ticket, you take the ride, and um, yeah, I think there's a little loss of credibility in the Denver ownership and the management up there. And it, like you say, with Sacramento's, that's another perfect example in terms of getting rid of. Yeah, there may be they have their reasons for firing not just Malone but the GM Booth as well. And so um yeah, I agree with your thought process on Dan Hurley. Absolutely. There's been a lot of speculation that Dan Hurley is. Listen, last year, people, the LA Lakers wanted Dan Hurley. There was all this speculation. And what happened? Nothing. Nothing
If he,
happened.
let me tell you something. If he's
Yeah.
not going to LA, he's
He's
not
not
going.
going
He's
to
not
Denver.
going. He's not going to
Bingo.
Denver ever.
Bingo.
It's not
Could,
happening.
couldn't have said that any better, my guy. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Like, if he's not going to LA in a big market team with the lights and the cameras and the red carpet, if he's not gonna go there, what makes you think he wants to go to Denver, where ownership and management just fired a championship head coach off of whatever reason? Yeah, like I agree with you on that for sure, absolutely.
All right, all right. Well, you heard it here first off. What we think is gonna happen with the Denver Nuggets and how they treated Mike Malone and our opinions on it. We're gonna head over into the play-in/playoff picture. So I'm gonna let you roll with this one, Denzel. This was kind of your topic that you wanted to put in there. Let's see what you got.
Okay, my man. Well, first off, we just had a game go final. The Miami Heat beating the Chicago Bulls. So they will be playing the loser of the 7-8 game, which is the Atlanta Hawks. So the Atlanta Hawks will be playing the Miami Heat, and whoever wins that game will play will be the 8th seed in the playoffs for for the Eastern Conference. We do have one more game tonight, which is Dallas and Sacramento. Obviously, we saw what Golden State did last night. They were dominant. Memphis made a nice little run, but you can't listen. You can't hold back the great ones. Jimmy Butler, man, like Jimmy Butler and Curry last night, dude. Are you kidding me, man? Butler got to the line 12
38
times.
points for Jimmy Buckets.
Yeah,
For everybody that was doubting him in a Golden State Warriors jersey. 38 points for him last night. Just let you know.
I'm telling you, playoff Jimmy activated. That's all I gotta say there.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what Curry can do in the postseason. We've seen it time and time again from these two guys. Um, they are going to play the Houston Rockets. Currently, right now, Golden State's favored to beat the Houston Rockets in that series. The 2 seed Houston Rockets. I
As
understand.
they should be.
Yeah,
As they should
I
be.
agree. Houston's youth and inexperience will be a massive factor against a 4-time champion. And listen, we talked about this on our first show. Playoff Jimmy activated? I'm good, folks, man. I'll sit and watch from the sideline, man. I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that man's way when Playoff Jimmy's activated.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we start to look at some of these matchups here in the playoffs, I was
Let's
praying.
go through them. Let's go through them.
Okay. Obviously, we don't know who the matchups are of for OKC, the 1 seeds OKC and Cleveland, the respective 1 seeds in their conference. Boston
Who
will
are the
play Orlando.
choices?
Huh?
Who are the choices for those?
So we have to await the winner. So for the Western Conference, whoever that 8 seed is, they're going to be playing. So Memphis is the loser in the 7-8 bracket, and that 7-8 seed play-in game from yesterday. The loser will play the winner of the 9-10 game, and whoever wins that game will be the 8 seed. Same thing. We will not know with Cleveland who Cleveland's opponent is until we watch Miami and we watch Atlanta duke it out for the 8 seed. So, with that being said, we'll go to the Eastern Conference and start there. We will look. Of course, we got to start with our Boston Celtics. Yeah, we got to start with our Boston Celtics against Orlando. The Boston Celtics are a minus 8,000 favorite against the Orlando Magic. My question to you, yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna put it out here. I think this is gonna be the toughest series for the Boston Celtics this year.
I agree. They're strong. They have a lot of strength. They're lengthy. They're tall. They're big.
I think that
dangerous.
these Orlando Magic are going to give problems to the Boston Celtics, and I think that we're going to start seeing Orlando thrive the same way that I think that we're going to see Detroit thrive, but I just don't think that they're going to get it done against the Boston Celtics. It would be one hell of a story if they did, though. It would be one
to me,
hell of a
I think
story.
it would be a crazy story. I think it would be crazy if we weren't thinking that this series could go 6 games. I really do. I could see Boston, the way Orlando defends. I mean, I wish Jalen Suggs was playing in this series. I really do.
I don't.
For
the sake of the Boston
Celtics fans, we don't want to see Jalen Suggs. I agree with you. But just the narrative and just being like, this is the highest level of competition. You want to play every team at their best. And at least for me as a competitor and growing up playing basketball all the time, I always wanted to play a team against a team at their best. I never, no one wishes anyone to get hurt. But anyways, Celtics play with their food, man. We saw that a couple of years back in the Atlanta series. That series should have been a sweep, if not a gentleman's sweep in 5 games. They play with their food. Atlanta wins the game 5 in Boston, and then Boston has to go in Atlanta for game 6 and win that game and move on in the series. Like, we've seen it before with Boston to play with their food. We know I would say Boston's been coasting all season up until the last month and a half of the season. Since the All-Star break, they've been rolling. And I mean, whether the starting five is playing or not, we're watching Pritchard and Derek White, 40 pieces together. We're watching this Celtics team gear up and get ready for that is what is the playoffs. And so I think they've done more than hit their stride going into the playoffs. This is similar to what they did last year going into the championship run that they went into. They had a 20-2 run over a 22-game stretch. Boston's doing a similar thing right now. I see Boston winning in 5 games in this series. If they play with their food, this is a 6-game series. This is like Orlando could easily make this a 6-game series. To see, and we know Orlando. That's the ultimate difference in this series is Orlando just doesn't have the firepower to keep up with Boston. That's the big thing there. You have one of the slowest paces in the NBA, one of the lowest points per games in the NBA. Yes, the point is to score more than your opponent, but when you got a team with an analytic mentality that 3 is more than 2, and you're not going to outscore us, your 2s will not outscore our 3s. Sorry, man. Like, I think Orlando could sneak away with 1 win. I think they could win one of their home games in Orlando and make it and push it to 5. And then I think Boston closes it in 5. It should be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep for Orlando. Next series, 4-5 matchup. Pacers, Bucks. This is an interesting matchup with Halliburton and the boys, and Milwaukee. Yes, Milwaukee. Obviously, they're not the same team without Damian Lillard, even though their defensive rating and efficiency has gone up since Damian Lillard's been off the floor and has, the blood clots. Praying for a speedy recovery for Damian Lillard because he is a fun guy to watch, especially at the end of ball games. Give me the Pacers. I got the Pacers in 6 in this series. I love the Pacers. I think they're fast paced. Halliburton's looking like the dude he was last year, who was just tearing it up. He was beating you on the dribble. He was hitting the 3 ball with that. I don't want to call it funky, but we'll call it a funky jump shot there. It goes in, man. If it goes in, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then with his vision and passing and his IQ, I think every one of these games is going to go down to the wire. We saw that we've got a glimpse of that in the last game between the Pacers and the Bucks, with the Halliburton 4-point play there that ultimately won them the game.
Yeah.
Controversial. We'll leave it there. What are your thoughts on Pacers and Bucks, my man?
I have the Pacers in 7. Listen, I think that this is going to be, if not already, one of the biggest rivals in the NBA, between the Pacers and the Bucks. I think they meet up in the playoffs at least every 2 years. I think that this is going to be a lot closer than what everybody thinks, but I do have the Pacers sneaking by in 7.
All right. And the last series we got up, the last complete series that we have here is the New York Knicks, the 3 seed, up against the Detroit Pistons. This is another interesting matchup because me and you have, for those who have watched the show in previous episodes, we think highly of Detroit. We do think Detroit is that team that's going to surprise people in this playoff series. I believe that this series is a 6 or 7 game series. Should the Knicks win this series, there's no doubt in my mind the Knicks should win this series. But there's too many buts on the Knicks side, defensive side of the basketball for me. And Cade Cunningham is a dog, man. Like, he is an absolute dog. He has got a killer mentality. We see it on a nightly basis with him. The points, the assists. I want to. This was a toss up for me. I want to see it happen. Give me Detroit in 7. Give me Detroit in 7. I just want to see it happen because who knows? If Detroit beats New York, bye Tom Thibodeau, enter Mike Malone. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. CJ.
Yeah.
But this would be an extreme confidence boost for the Detroit Pistons as a franchise. They already are a confident team. They're playing like they got nothing to lose, being one of the worst teams in the NBA a year ago. Now they won more than half. They have a winning season this year. They make the playoffs outright, no play-in tournament. Great, awesome job by Bickerstaff and the coaching staff there, as well as the players stepping up. And some of those players have had to step up, like Malik Beasley, and some of these guys have had to step up with Jaden Ivey going down with that horrific injury. By the way, folks, Jaden Ivey has been cleared for basketball activities. So obviously he's not going to play in the postseason. He will not play until next season. But with that being said, yeah, like I said, give me Detroit in 7. I just want to see this happen. I just think the Knicks are a shell of themselves. They're not the same defensive team they were when they had Julius Randle and Julius Randle gave them a physical. And I'm not saying New York is not a physical team; they are a physical team. But a stat that I brought up in my first episode with you, CJ, Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are in the bottom 5 percentile in defense at their position. That's all I need to see. That's all I need to see and hear to think that Detroit could impose their will against New York, whether they have OG Anunoby, who I think is a good defender, Josh Hart, who I think he's your do-it-all guy on both sides of the floor, your hustle guy, rebounds, assists. I love OG Anunoby. I love Josh Hart. I want to see New York be successful. But when you got a coach running you down in the muck, in the sheet muck all the time, eventually that's going to catch up to you. And we got a young team with some experience. We can't forget about Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is a key piece of this roster as well for the Detroit Pistons. But I just want to see Detroit win. I think it would be a great storyline for the franchise. What do you think?
Yeah, I have Detroit in 5. I
What?
don't think. I think
Oh.
I think that the New York Knicks have not proven anything this season. Don't get me wrong, Jalen Brunson is a dog, but if you look at teams that were over 500, how many of those games did they actually win?
Oh, they were horrendous. They didn't win any games against the Thunder, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
Not a single game they won against those top 3 teams.
Yep, and that's the reason why I have the beginning of the thriving of the Detroit Pistons. I think they're going to shock the world. Give me the Detroit Pistons in 5.
Wow. That is okay, folks. Hot take of the night, folks. There it is. Detroit in 5. Too bad. Man, brother, I'm going to be honest. I wish you had a rhyme for that. I'm going to be honest.
It's coming. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know it's coming. All right, let's move over to the Western Conference. We've already touched upon the Rockets and the Golden State Warriors. I have Golden State in 5 games. I just think the youth and experience for the Houston Rockets team is just too much. And playoff Jimmy and Steph Curry on the same team? Oh, wait, there's Draymond Green, too. Like, you got to deal with all 3 of these guys? Like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing? Houston's going in the right direction. They're ascending in the right direction. I think Houston's got a nice future ahead of them. Ime Udoka's done a nice job with this young core. Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, Alperen Şengün, Van Fleet brings a nice veteran leadership. Dylan Brooks as well. And Dylan Brooks obviously gives you that defensive edge as well, guarding the best offensive player on the other side. But come on, man. He's going to be running around with Steph Curry, and we've seen this. Listen, we've seen this movie before. Give me Golden State in 5. Where are you at?
Hey, I'm not saying it in 5. I'm saying it in 6. I think that Houston. I think that Houston has something to prove here. But I do think that they'll prove more than OKC will. I think that they're going to lose this series. Give me the Golden State Warriors in 6, because those are my Western Conference favorites. But don't be surprised if they show up in a few games and you're like, oh wow, what are we actually seeing here?
Yeah. All right. I can respect that. I think Houston, I can believe that Houston could win 2 games in this series. Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right that Houston has a possibility of making it a 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah.
We just bring us Saturday, please. I'm ready for the playoffs, man. I'm so ready for this. We'll move to the 4-5 matchup. Denver Nuggets, LA Clippers. I'm not even gonna this could be a difficult matchup. I mean, Zubats has had some great moments against Nikola Jokic. He's had some nice games against him this season. But with that being said, you got a healthy Kawhi Leonard, and we know what Kawhi Leonard brings to the table in the playoffs. We know what Denver, Jokic, Murray, Porter Jr., Christian Brown, case for most improved player. Just throwing that one out there. His scoring has nearly doubled since he's been inserted into the starting lineup. And yes, Russell Westbrook. This is a tough one. I do think that this series is a 7-game series. I think this is going 7. I want the Clippers just for the fact that I personally I picked the Clippers. I'm gonna be honest, when I pulled up the playoff picture, I was irate because I wanted to see Clippers Lakers. And you know good and well I'm picking the Clippers all day in that series. I'm sorry. I can't do it. The only guy we've ever seen shut down LeBron James in a 7-game series, Kawhi Leonard. The only guy we've ever seen do it. And that's all I'm going to say there. I won that Lakers Clippers matchup in the 3-6, but it's going to be Denver and LA in the Clippers here. I have Clippers in 7. Could Denver win in 6 and 7 games? Absolutely. I think this series is a coin toss. I really do. I think there's great pieces on both sides of the ball here. CJ, come on, talk to me. I see that smirk on your face. Come on, give me the goods, my man.
I like it. I like that you said Clippers in 7, but I'm gonna let you know something. All right. No Mike Malone, 2-3 zone. Give me some provolone. Clippers in 5. Come on now. Clippers in 5. I have the Clippers in 5.
Shannon Sharp, come on, man. We gotta get Shannon Sharp on the show here, man. That was good, dude.
Listen. Healthy Kawhi Leonard is in the building, folks, and he is not playing around against a team that is washed up like the Denver Nuggets. Yes, I'm saying that they're washed up because they just fired the piece that brought them to the NBA championship. I'm telling you right now, no Mike Malone, healthy Kawhi, James Harden going on a run, Norman Powell getting his 20 points and 5 boards a game, Zubac doing his thing on the boards. I'm going with the LA Clippers. No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. Like you said, healthy Kawhi Leonard is all I need to hear, man. We've seen what this guy can do when he's healthy. And watching how they ramped up his minutes going towards the end of the season, man, it was like, uh-oh, he's back. Look out, folks.
How many other guys can you say have won an NBA championship with 3 different teams?
Not many. There's not many people
I
who have done
think
that.
I think the only one that you can say in the NBA right now is LeBron James.
LeBron James, right? Yeah, LeBron's the only one. Yeah, I don't know of anyone else who's brought 3 rings.
Kawhi's coming.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I think he's the next player to be on that exclusive list. I absolutely agree with you on that. All right, and the last matchup we have in the Western Conference Series, or at least matchup that is set up in stone here and not penciled in silly putty, is the LA Lakers, the 3 seed, going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is an interesting one here. You got Ant-Man. You got the only thing that concerns me with LA is the lack of a center. Now, I agree. Doncic to Jackson Hayes has been a fun combination to watch. I agree with that. We see what playoff Doncic has done in the past. He has put a franchise on his back and led them to the finals, hobbled and all, like last season. Yes, and you have LeBron James. I just think that there's going to be too much LeBron and Doncic in this series we've seen this movie before. Doncic and Rudy Gobert. Come on, man. They're going to make that switch. Jackson Hayes is going to be setting that screen all night for Doncic, and he's going to get one-on-one opportunities at the above the big 3 position against Rudy Gobert. I think Doncic is the leading scorer in this series. I think he's going to have his way if they're going to get that pick and roll switch with Rudy Gobert defending him all night long. Lakers in 6. I'm going to say Lakers in 6. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves can win a couple of games here. They do have great defenders. Yes, the Lakers have great defenders too. But to me, Luka and LeBron, I can't go against Luka and LeBron. And come on, man, Rudy Gobert, man. Come on, I'm sorry. I can't do it, man. Who do you have in this series?
As funny as it sounds, because you're gonna go back to the Shannon Sharp thing, I'm not gonna give you a rhyme for it because I am not a
Yeah,
Lakers fan.
it's too obvious.
But I do have the Lakers in 5 in this one. Reason being, I'm going to give you one name, and the one name that I'm going to give you, you're not even going to be thinking of because you didn't even mention him once in this time that you were talking about the Lakers. Austin Reeves. I think Austin
Hmm.
Reeves is going to be the person that really catapults the Lakers into the next round. I think that he's going to have he's going to continue the streak that he's been on. I mean, the streak that he's been
Yeah.
on has been ridiculous for a third best player on an LA Lakers team that has LeBron James and Luka Doncic. I just think that Austin Reeves is really on a different level that everybody thinks he's on, and I think
Yeah.
he's going to catapult the Lakers up to the second round.
You know what? I'm eating crow. Let me just be honest here. I'm eating crow because I was not the biggest Austin Reeves fan
That's
because I thought
crazy.
I thought he was overrated when he first came into the league. There was a lot of hype into his
Nope.
game, and you're starting to see it now. And it's like, yeah, I'm eating crow, man. Like, I'm
If
not
you
afraid to
watched him
admit
in
that I'm eating
college,
crow on that. I think Austin Reeves is great. I think
if if
yeah,
you
go ahead.
watched him if you watched him in college, you saw that potential that he had. There was
Oh
a
yeah.
reason why he had that hype around him. It wasn't just because he was a white boy that could shoot. Nah, he could also
Oh yeah.
dribble, he
No.
could
Yeah.
pass, he could play defense, he can do all of it. You know what I mean? So I can see why the hype was around him. I was part of that hype. Trust me, when the Lakers got him, I was like
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh, I was like, they just got rid of Alex Caruso and they got a better person to fit that mold for the LA Lakers in Austin Reeves. I was really
Yeah.
happy when they got
And
them.
like I said, yeah,
With
I'm
him.
willing to admit that I'm eating crow there, and I'm actually starting to more and more watching. The more and more I'm a fan of his game. He has been a very great complementary player to LeBron and Luka Doncic. He's been a very good player, and you see his numbers have skyrocketed since Luka's been there, and the numbers speak for themselves. And so, yeah, I'm willing to admit I'm eating crow in that in that Austin Reeves thing there.
I would
Um
hope so. I would hope that
yeah,
you
oh,
would
I'm
admit
absolutely eating crow.
that.
I listen, I know I'm wrong in that one because I can't tell you the number of times I'm sitting here watching League Pass and I've been watching the Lakers game late at night, not just because I got a little side bet on it, but just because I'm like, yeah, yes, me being a sports handicapper, yes, but like,
Never bet on the
not just
Lakers if you're a Celtics fan, brother. Never.
I'm not saying I'm a fan of the Lakers. I'm saying I'm a fan of Austin Reeves' game. I'm saying I'm a fan of
I hear
Reeves'
you. I
games,
hear
man.
you.
I
I hear you.
like the
Me too.
hype that everyone was talking about when he first came into the league and was paired up with LeBron and AD. And I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, this guy is like, I didn't see it at first. And now that we're starting to see other pieces coming into play, and now you're seeing how complimentary he is to LeBron, and that's what LeBron needed though. He needed
He's
a shooter outside the 3-point line. That's what he needed. And Roy Hamachimaru's been great for them. Like there's been, I could go on and on
yeah.
with how the
He's
Lakers play. Yeah.
the way that I'm looking at Austin Reeves is the same way that people looked at Byron Scott when he was on
Mm,
those Lakers teams. Because at first Byron Scott was a nobody. You know what I mean? He was just another
right.
guy that was coming off the bench. You know, they weren't looking at him as one of the starters and everything. And then after that, one of the coaches came up and said, "Hey, let's go. You're part of the starting lineup," because he was one of the only ones that played defense in practice. And Byron Scott became one of the best decisions that the Lakers ever made. Um, I'm kind of looking at that as Austin Reeves for this team right now. That's the way that I'm looking at him.
Yeah. No. Yeah, how complimentary Byron Scott was to Magic Johnson, Worthy,
Mhm.
Kareem, in that that first half a dozen years with the Lakers,
Yep.
and then Byron Scott sneaky hops. You know what I'm saying? Like the guy could jump, man, to go
Homie
get
was
a.
good. Homie was
Yeah,
low
man, he
key
was.
good.
Yeah, like I mean, at one
Just
point in
don't put him on
time,
Michael Jordan. That's all.
listen, the 87-88 year for the Lakers, man, he was averaging over 21 points a game.
Yep.
So and you're kind of similarly seeing that with Austin Reeves and LeBron,
Exactly.
with LeBron and Doncic. So I like the comparison you made there with Byron Scott. I do like that. Yeah, that's what I got here for the playoff picture here, man. I mean, we will see what happens with the 9-10 games. Like currently right now, we got the Kings and the Dallas Mavericks going on, fighting for position to play up against the Memphis Grizzlies to see who's going to fight for that
If
8
you
seed
know
spot in
me,
the West.
if you know me, we ain't rooting for the Dallas Mavericks after what they did to Luka. Let's go Sacramento. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, currently right now, Sacramento's up 1 with just under 4 minutes to play in the first quarter here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. I honestly, I like watching Sabonis. I'm just gonna be honest. I love
Yeah.
watching Sabonis. He's fun. He's fun. He's a fun guy to watch. He has that. It's hard to make the comparison to Jokic, but he has a Jokic part of his game where he's making others around him better. The dribble handoffs, the shooting ability.
Hmm.
He he doesn't shoot the 3 ball well, but at the same time, though, you got to be, if you listen, my mom once told me, if you sag off, your swag's off. All right. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you can't leave him alone behind the 3-point line. I swear there's a magnet in his hands when he rebounds the basketball. I swear he's got a
Yeah.
magnet in his hands because it's like that you remember the game where they came to Boston, career high 28 rebounds. I was like, has anyone else on Sacramento gotten a rebound tonight? Like, dude.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, overall, I enjoy watching Sabonis play. And here we go, part 2 of DeRozan and Levine together. Then
We shall see. We shall see.
right, exactly. So
Yep, but that's been all for the play-in/playoff picture. We're gonna head into a little ad from our guys at Atlanta Seafood and Steak. Make sure that you stay tuned because we still got half of a show left. So we'll be right back and hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Good Food. At Atlanta Steaks and Seafood, you'll find the highest quality meats from a variety of delicious cuts, tomahawks, salmon fillets, ribeyes, and plenty more to choose from. With an easy-to-use mobile-friendly website, selecting your pick of meat is made quick and easy. And don't forget, worrying about your dinner is a thing of the past. Check out some of the amazing subscription packages that Atlanta Steaks and Seafood has to offer. From fresh steak and seafood straight to your door. Order online at atlantasteaksandseafood.com.
All right, we are back. That was Atlanta Seafood and Steaks. Make sure you go say hi to Terry on Facebook. Denzel, I know you haven't gotten a package yet. I'm telling you, you should get one. They're really good. I personally had them. So make sure that you go reach out. They're worth it. And we're going to head right in to what's the best team at drafting in the last 20 years. Now, this is a little history segment for you guys because we always bring the history segments towards you guys. This one's kind of a little clever outside of the box. Denzel, I'm going to let you give me your one. Yeah, let's start with your one. I'm going to let you give me, or count down, so you're 3. I'm going to let you give me your 3.
okay. First of all, what a trip down memory lane this was to see some of the old familiar names that we haven't seen play in the NBA for at least the last 5 or 10 years. And so when I look at the 3 franchises I picked, at number 3, I have the Sacramento Kings. And let me give you the list here. Kevin Martin. We have guys like Tyreek Evans, DeMarcus Cousins, Hassan Whiteside, Isaiah Thomas, Willie Cauley-Stein, De'Aaron Fox. Some people might forget this, but Tyrese Halliburton was drafted by the Sacramento Kings. And I try to keep put some new recent good draft picks. Keegan Murray is one that comes to mind for the Sacramento Kings. So at number 3, that's who I have, Sacramento. And honestly, I'm going to be real. You could make a case for a lot of different franchises being in the top 3 because there's some great draft picks across all the franchises have made some great draft picks over the years. At number 2, I can't help it. I have San Antonio. The San Antonio Spurs for me, some they have not overall as an organization the last before this big rebuild and Victor getting there, we're talking about that dominance from the late '90s to the pretty much the mid 2010s, where 50-win seasons were a cakewalk for them. It was like shooting a layup for them. They were getting 50-win seasons, 5 championships. We could arguably say San Antonio was probably the best franchise in the first 15, 20 years of the century. We could arguably say that. That's how good they've been. And some of their draft picks show it. And we're talking like impactful players like Thiago Splitter, George Hill, Goran Dragic, Corey Joseph, Derek White, DeJounte Murray, Kyle Anderson, Keldon Johnson, Vassell, Trey Jones. Yes, Victor Wembanyama. I mean, that's an obvious one. Stefan Castle, who, in my opinion, is Rookie of the Year this year Rookie of the Year this year in the NBA. So at number 2, I have the San Antonio Spurs. At number 1, this was clear and obvious for me. The Oklahoma City Thunder is number 1 on this list. / Seattle Supersonics. We'll call it because when they drafted Kevin Durant, they were the Seattle Supersonics. They were not the Oklahoma City Thunder when they drafted Kevin Durant. Obviously, Kevin Durant's on this list. Carl Landry. Big baby Glenn Davis was drafted by them. Yes, obviously traded. Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, James Harden, Eric Bledsoe, Reggie Jackson, Steven Adams, Josh Giddey. Alperen Sengun was drafted by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Miles McBride, Aaron Wiggins, Chet Holmgren, J-Dub. And I mean both J-Dub and Jalen Williams. Peyton Watson, who is obviously a contributing factor and a role player on the Denver Nuggets as we speak. He was drafted by Oklahoma City. And Derek Lively was also drafted by the Oklahoma City Thunder, drafted and traded away. So at number 1, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. In the last 20 years, just between Durant, Westbrook, Ibaka, Harden, like just those 4 guys right there, clear and obvious number 1. Like no doubt in my mind. Yeah. CJ, who is your top 3?
All right, so I'm surprised at some of your picks here.
Okay.
My number 3, I can agree with your number 3, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna put the Golden State Warriors here. I just looking at like what they have had in the past 20 years. I mean, we look at Steph Curry, we look at Jonathan Kuminga, we look at Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Festus Ezeli. We have Draymond Green, James Wiseman when he was there had potential. We look at Harrison Barnes. Not to mention, even if we go before that, I mean, we have Marco Bellinelli. And if we go way before in 2001, I didn't say 25 years, but if we go to the 25 years part,
right,
they do have Gilbert Arenas there as well.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
I did see that. I was like,
yeah,
man, you should have said 25 years.
Yeah. I mean, not to mention that they also have had Tim Hardaway. I know that we're only looking at the 20 years, but even if you just look at the last 20 years, I mean, that championship core that they won 4 championships with is all right there, right in front of you. So I had to put Golden State in that last 20 years, who was the best at drafting. Now, I know that you could have had guys like the Boston Celtics, or what was your number 3 team? Your number 3 team was the
Sacramento Kings.
Sacramento Kings. That was another good one. I didn't even think about putting them there. But I had to put Golden State at my number 3.
All
My
right.
number 2 is the Denver Nuggets. We have a lot of players to talk about now. Like I said, if we said 25 years, we could add Carmelo Anthony over to this.
Oh, yes.
But
Absolutely.
you know, if even without that, you got Kenneth Faried, you got Nikola Jokic, you got Michael Porter Jr., you got Malik Beasley, Evan Fournier, you have Monte Morris, you have Jarrett Jack. I'm not sure what year Jarrett Jack was drafted though.
Jarrett Jack was 05.
Yeah, so you have Jarrett Jack, you have Donovan Mitchell, you have Jamal Murray, Emmanuel Mudiay, you have Jameer Nelson. I mean, the names really just go on and on
Pops off
and
the
on.
list.
Rudy Gobert is another guy that was drafted by the Denver Nuggets. Like, this team has not missed with who they have drafted in the last 20 years, and it's crazy to even look at how many stars that they have had come out of a Denver Nuggets uniform and onto another guy's uniform at draft night. Now, unfortunately, we haven't seen half of those players play for the Denver Nuggets, but they still drafted them. They knew what they were doing when drafting. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about who was the best drafting, who had the best mindset when it came to the NBA draft. And the Denver Nuggets is one of those teams that you cannot just look at and be like, oh yeah, we can't even put them in the top 5. No, they're there. They are there next to number 1, which, like you said, I agree with you, is the OKC Thunder. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, Jeff Green. I mean, the names go on and on and on for them as well. So I definitely had to put the OKC Thunder there. It's a shame that we haven't seen the OKC Thunder win a championship yet, though. But those are my 3 teams. Once again, this is just an opinionated thing. This is not this is based off of NBA history, what we think is the best teams that were in the NBA drafting scene at the time. I mean, I like your pick in San Antonio, but I think that there were other picks there. Don't get me wrong. I understand why you took it, but even before that, I mean, you can't really say that Tim Duncan was there the same way I can't say that Melo was there for the Nuggets, you know, because at the time we're just looking at 20 years. So I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I love the picks, but not having the Denver Nuggets in the top 3 was very, very shocking to me.
Yeah, and the one pick from Denver, because I'm gonna be honest, that number 3 spot was, like I said, Sacramento. It was between Sacramento, Denver, and there was the third team. There was a third team. There were 3 teams. I went back and forth on this, and you're probably right. I probably should have had Denver at 3, because one pick that really surprised me was
I think you should have had him at. I think I
maybe
would have kicked
2.
I think I would have kicked San Antonio out of your list, knowing, because I didn't even think about Sacramento. I didn't even think about Sacramento for like the team that was best at drafting, because they've been pretty bad at keeping their team together. But with the names that you said, I mean, hell, they got a roster there of people that they drafted.
I'm telling you, if they all stayed, man, Sacramento would be. They wouldn't be sitting here fighting for a play-in spot. Let's just be real right now.
That's what I'm saying.
But
That's what I'm saying.
Denver. Yeah, it was Denver for me, the one pick that it should have put them in the list, in my top 3 list. But I kept it out. I would have easily put them in the top 5 if we did our top 5. top five
Oh yeah.
best teams that drafted.
If we
The
did top
Donovan Mitchell
five,
pick. Donovan Mitchell.
yeah.
They picked Donovan Mitchell in 2017, and I'm like, dude, that's a big one. That's a big one. They drafted
I
him
didn't
and then
even know
traded.
they drafted Jameer Nelson. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, back in 04, they drafted. I know. Some of the names, like I said, for those who are watching, you got, like, I'm telling you, look up some of the draft picks that some of these some of these franchises made, dude, and you'd be like, why didn't they keep these guys? Like that was the only thing. Yeah.
Not to mention that if we look back into the 90s as well, we talk about the center in Nikola Jokic. The Denver Nuggets are also responsible for the team who drafted Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
You know, like, these guys did not miss. These guys did not miss.
Yeah, there was a couple of teams, there were some picks that just caught me off guard. For example, the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte Hornets have, they got an up and down history. We know that. They're more on the downside right now. But when we look at some of their picks over the last 20 years, we're talking Emeka Okafor, Raymond Felton, Kemba Walker, Tobias Harris, Malik Monk. My personal favorite on the Charlotte Hornets list, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, was picked on that team. They drafted Shai, P.J. Washington, LaMelo, Jalen Duren, Brandon Miller. That surprised me. I completely did not realize and completely forgot that SGA was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, there's some other good ones in here. Like, we could talk about
Boston.
We could talk about Boston and their picks, especially the last. I mean, if we dwindled this down to the last 15 years, or the last 10 years.
Let's talk
Boston's draft picks have been.
Let's talk about 04. We were talking about it a few days ago, where they did not miss.
Oh, that was one of their best.
Tony Allen, who was the other two there?
Yeah, so arguably this is probably one of the greatest draft nights. You could put this up there as one of the greatest draft nights, single draft nights by a franchise all time. I think you could put this up there. Al Jefferson, Delonte West, and Tony Allen were their three picks that year. What, are you kidding me, dude?
Not to mention they also had Rondo.
Right. They picked Rondo, Jeff Green. You know, the Celtics drafted Desmond Bain. Like think of that one. Like, they drafted Desmond Bain. Obviously we know about Brown, Tatum, Rob Williams. Like, they had Boston had some great draft picks, but the 04 one, that night, that 04 draft was so good. I was like, you could make a case for Boston.
If they didn't trade that last pick too that they got in that deal with Brooklyn, they would have also had Colin Sexton. That's another thing to think about.
Yeah, that's another thing that I forget sometimes, is like, if certain things didn't happen, Colin Sexton would have been.
If that Kyrie trade did not happen, they would have had IT and Colin Sexton. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a couple of other teams in here that really intrigues me. I tried to asterisk some, but I mean, we could sit here and talk about Orlando. We could sit here and talk about the 76ers and some of their draft picks: Andre Iguodala, Lou Williams, Thabo Sefolosha, Drew Holiday, Evan Turner, Nikola Vucevic was drafted by the 76ers.
The LA Lakers.
The LA Lakers had some. Man, the LA Lakers had a couple. Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell, Lonzo Ball, Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram. I'm pretty sure they were also the team who. Wait, did Did Andrew Bynum get drafted by them, or was he
Yes.
undrafted?
Andrew
Yeah,
Bynum was drafted by the Lakers. Yes.
yeah. So that's another one. I mean,
Yeah. I'll give you more names to this list for the Lakers. You could have put the Lakers in this list outside of Andrew Bynum. Marc Gasol,
yep.
Ivica Zubac, like we said, Brandon Ingram, Larry Nance Jr., not back in the 1980s
Yeah,
slam dunk champ, Larry Nance,
yeah.
DeAndre Hunter, Jaden McDaniels. Obviously, we know about them drafting Max Christie. Patrick Beverly was drafted by the Lakers, drafted and then traded. Yeah, to me, the one that really got me for the Lakers was Marc Gasol. I
Oh
did
yeah.
not. I imagine if Marc Gasol and Paul Gasol were on that Lakers team.
Well, wasn't he part of that trade, Marc Gasol?
I think Marc Gasol was a part of that trade.
He was, because Paul Gasol was on the Grizzlies.
Yes, Paul Gasol. Yeah. Was it Memphis at the time or was it Vancouver?
Vancouver.
Man, that's going back,
They
dude.
just
That's
they
going back.
just switched over. They just switched over to Memphis that the year that Mark got there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, it's another one of those what ifs. Like I know, yeah, maybe the trade would have been the reasoning why Mark and Paul, the Gasol brothers, wouldn't play together. But imagine if Gasol brothers were playing together with Kobe Bryant. Um, there's another one of those what ifs. Another, I mean, Minnesota was another one. The Minnesota Timberwolves was another one that I was debating on. Here's your list. Brandon Roy. That starts off the list. Brandon Roy, Corey Brewer, OJ Mayo, Mario Chalmers, Ricky Rubio, Ty Lawson, Wayne Ellington, Zach LaVine, Cat, Lowry Markkinen, Cam Johnson, and obviously Ant-Man. Like that's a lot. I like Brandon Roy. Oh my gosh. They picked Brandon Roy and then they traded him to Portland. Ty Lawson, they picked him, traded him to Denver. Like I'm telling you, like Minnesota may have had Minnesota may have been a lot more relevant in the mid and late, I would say the late 2000s, early 2010s, especially if you kept Kevin Garnett and you surrounded him with Brandon Roy, or you know what I'm saying? Like, who knows where that could have gone for Minnesota? But big time what ifs. Um, yeah, there's so many names on the list. Like Phoenix had some nice names on there. Luol Deng. When's the last time you heard that name? Luol Deng. Um, obviously played. We know about his years with Tom Thibodeau and the Chicago Bulls with Derrick Rose and them. Nate Robinson, Marcin Gortat, Rajon Rondo. Like Rajon Rondo was the sign and then the trade from Phoenix to Boston. That
Are
was
you
a
sure?
sign. That's what I have here. I mean, I could double check. I could double
I'm
check my notes
almost
here again.
positive Boston picked him.
And because when I looked it up, that's who drafted him. Let's see. I got 2006 NBA draft, first round, 21st pick, Phoenix. Phoenix Suns drafted Rajon Rondo. That's what it's showing here. It had to have been if they had to have drafted him and traded him to Boston. That's what it's showing here.
I always thought that he was one of the ones drafted by them. Oh well.
Yeah, either way. But Rudy Fernandez, Robert Lopez, Markieff Morris, T.J. Warren, Bogdanovich, Devin Booker, and to Manny Kamara, who obviously is a great, I shouldn't say great, but a very good player for the Portland Trailblazers. Like, you talk about a team that's on the verge of ascending. Portland has some good pieces. They just gotta find the right combination of forces. I love Chauncey Billups as a coach for the Portland Trailblazers. I think Portland Trailblazers,
Portland's
they
on the
got some.
come up for sure.
Yeah, they're on the come up for sure with Shaden Sharp, Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons. Let's not forget Anthony Simons. Like, they have some.
Aiton's there.
They have some good foundational pieces there that they.
Let's not forget about Robert Williams too. He's there too.
Yeah, Rob Williams. You talk about someone impacting. If Rob Williams could stay, all right. I'm gonna ask you a rabbit trail question here. If Rob Williams stays healthy, let's just say he never has any of these ailment injuries with the knee, the knee injuries and stuff like that. If Rob Williams stays healthy,
he's Shaq.
Does he have a defensive player of the year right now?
He's Shaq. He's the best center in the league.
Shaq.
He is the most unstoppable center in the league. If in this generation of basketball, he is the most unstoppable center in the NBA if he stays healthy and if he keeps on progressing with Tatum and Brown. 110%.
If there was one guy I did not want Boston to trade, it was Rob Williams, because
it was Marcus Smart for me.
I mean,
mad
don't
when
get me
they
wrong,
traded him.
both of those guys, great defensive players. Like Rob Williams, like that one healthy season Rob Williams had, he had the best. He was, it was the worst field goal percentage against him as the last defender. Like, and it wasn't by like a couple of like percentage points. It was like 6-7 percentage points lower than the next guy. Like, that's how impactful Rob Williams was in the defensive end. And we know what Marcus Smart brought to the table, man. We know what that guy brought to the table. Yeah, DPOY. To me, if Rob Williams stays healthy, I do believe Rob Williams could be a defensive. There's another guy for defensive player of the year if he stays healthy. But, you know, folks, we got more pressing matters to get on to.
Yeah. All right. That's been a little bit of a history segment for you from Live Zone Sports and Dynamics on the Hardwood. That's been Denzel and Live Zone's history moment with you guys. We're going to head into something that we usually don't talk about. G League MVP hearing news, whatever you want to call it. JD Davison from the main, what I like to call the main Red Claws, because their logo is still a claw. Their logo is still a lobster, but they are the main Celtics nowadays. JV Davison, I want to say congratulations. I know that you had a little bit of a question based off of what he has shown in the G League, but how are you feeling about
it? First off, well deserved. Not just averaging 25 points a game in the G League, but to average, and people, come on, man. Like, some people will say, oh, you're in the G League. Listen, let's see you Joe Schmoes out there go play in the G League, man. These are professional athletes, man. All these guys are going to smoke you. I don't want to hear none of this smoke, man. I don't want to hear none of this.
Anthony Davis was in the G League for like a day.
You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. But like 20, not just averaging 25 points a game, averaging more than 5 rebounds a game. As this guy is listed at what, 6 foot, 6'1" maybe on a good day, and average 5 rebounds a game as a guard is incredible. Not just that, but averaging 7, almost 8 assists a game as well. Yes, people will say, oh, Mac McClung should have been MVP. Listen, there's voter fatigue with Mac McClung, man. All right, like, JD Davison, some of y'all, if you guys haven't, please look up this kid's high school tape. I'm telling you, man, you talk about putting bodies. Like, this guy was putting bodies upon bodies on posters, man. Like,
He
this
still
guy,
is. He still is.
I agree. Yeah, he still is now.
The
And
putbacks are ridiculous.
yeah, and
Ridiculous.
well deserved to win the G League MVP. 1, 2. What is his reward for this? He got a 2-year NBA contract. He got a 2-year NBA contract, so he will be with the Celtics the next 2 years. Like, that's your reward. And honestly, not just winning MVP of the G League, but also getting a contract and a signing bonus and all that fun jazz. I've looked it up numerous times. I can't find the exact, like, I know it's a 2-year contract, but it doesn't specify the amount of how much money it is for the 2 years. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that
What matters
the
is that J.D. Davison is going to be an NBA champion, and he's going to have also he's also going to have an MVP in the G League under his belt with a
right.
25 you said 5 rebound, 8
Yep.
assists.
Yep.
So a year on his belt. I mean, he's definitely going to get minutes in the NBA. Just looking at what he has done, he came in as a little guy. He came in as one of those guys that was very scrawny and you thought was going to get killed in the NBA game. And now he's built up. He's getting putbacks like it's nothing. Like he's a center. He's dunking on people left and right. He's hitting bank shot threes, calling bank for games
Yeah.
in overtime and regulation. I mean, the guy is just ridiculous, and he's really proving why the Boston Celtics used a pick on him. And honestly, it might be one of those picks that come up. Like, we thought Jordan Welsh was gonna be one of those guys. We might not even see Jordan Walsh be one of those guys because of J.D. Davison. J.D. Davison might be that guy to come up to the NBA roster and prove a lot of people wrong.
Yeah. The one question that I thought of when I saw that he was G League MVP was, could he be more than just a reserve player? And I'm not saying,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
obviously we're specifically talking about the Celtics here, yes, but I mean, I could see this guy being a role player on any roster right now, like the way he's been playing.
yeah.
Now, I mean, and when I mean role, and for folks who don't know, a reserve player, they only put him in for like the last 2 minutes of the game when someone's down 50, like 30, the game's out of hand,
Sometimes
or
fun.
they're resting the starters and reserve players are coming in and getting minutes in NBA games because it's the end of the season, trying to get ready for the postseason, like what we've seen the last month of the NBA.
Jaylen Brown is rookie year. Jaylen Brown is rookie year.
Yeah.
That's literally what a reserve player is.
Yeah. And so, I'm talking when I mean role player, I mean a rotational player, someone who is not necessarily the 6th man, but maybe if you have there's 15 players on a roster, and if you dwindle it down to a 10-man rotation, could he be the 9th or 10th man in that rotation? I think he can be. Absolutely.
I think he can be more than that. Listen, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to name you one name. Aaron Nesmith on the Indiana Pacers. Okay, he started out with Boston and he was one of those rotational guys. He went to Indiana and he became a starter and almost became a star before Tyrese Halliburton got traded there. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at J.D. Davison. Yeah, he's an NBA player. He's an NBA caliber guy right now, and he's going to prove a lot of people wrong, and that's why he's the G League MVP. Definitely well deserved. 100%.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see someone like this who, was drafted and yes, is put down in the G League, but to watch him put in the hard work, getting the G League MVP as being one of the fruits of his labor, 1, and 2, getting an NBA contract. Like, man, this is why, like, CJ, let's be real, man. This is why me and you watch this sport, man. To watch guys like this come up, like an Austin Reeves, like guys like this that are trying to prove themselves in the league, and they're doing it. And so, honestly, I do think JD Davison could be a role player down the road for the
Six
Celtics in
man
the
of the
next
year.
year. Right, exactly. And
I can
so,
see him doing it.
yeah, and so for me, this could be a guy like, if something comes up and like, contract negotiations come up, someone gets traded. JD Davison, oh, look, we got a guy that can come in and fill in that spot. If they end up trading away someone, if the Celtics end
Yep.
up trading away someone, they could easily put him in that fill-in spot there. And I mean, we've seen it with the Celtics this year, me and you both. I mean, some of the role players and the reserve guys that they got coming, not just from the G League, Drew Peterson, Jordan Welsh has got some moments there. JD Davison. I just want to see JD Davison put someone on a poster, please, man. Like, it's like Zion Williamson, man. I just want to see these guys go up. Like Jaylen Brown. Like, people, I'm a broken record, man. Giannis, Embiid, you know who you are. So it's just like I want to see that night in and night out. But to see someone like this, and honestly, we're talking about JD Davison getting his chance, getting a 2-year contract. The other question is for you, CJ, is, we know how good Mac McClung is and how well he's done in the G League. Does he deserve that chance as well?
No. McClung has been good in the G League because, listen, when he steps onto an NBA floor, he's one of those typical players that gets psyched out and he can't play on an NBA floor. When he gets to the G League, he's kind of like Jamal Crawford in the sense of, listen, Jamal Crawford couldn't be a starter because he psyched himself out too much, but he was a great sixth man. McClung cannot be an NBA starter or NBA role player because he's a great NBA G League player. But a guy like JD Davison, I could definitely see moving up to a roster 110%. McClung just hasn't put the work in. McClung's a dunker.
Yeah. 3-time, what is it? 3-time slam dunk champ. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to get into this conversation right now, but we get, folks at home got to get to bed too. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like that goes into the whole All-Star thing and ways that things can be way more competitive in the All-Star weekend. Like, I think I thought it was awesome when Mac McClung joined the slam dunk contest. If you guys haven't seen this high school tape, Mac McClung's another high flyer that could go up there and dunk on anybody. And to watch him just dominate it, watch him dominate the slam dunk competition 3 times and not have any of these star players playing the slam dunk competition. Like, come on. What are we doing here, man? Like,
Yeah.
like I this is where I have an admiration for Jaylen Brown, at least Jaylen Brown. Hey, LeBron, I'm calling you out, you sucker. Like, come on, man. Like, people wanted to see LeBron in the slam dunk contest for years. I'm not saying.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm not
blame him.
saying.
With
But
the
I
way that the
appreciate
NBA
Jaylen Brown, a
judges
star
are,
in the league, at least making an attempt to at least make
this
it
is
watchable. You know what I'm saying? Like,
this is another discussion for another day. But the
yeah,
way that
absolutely. I agree.
the way that I'm gonna end it, the way that I'm gonna end that conversation is there's a reason why NBA stars do not join the NBA dunk competition no more, and it's not because of the dunk competition itself. It's because of the judges behind it. So there's favoritism between those judges, and you can definitely see it in the last 10 years. And that's the reason why guys like John Morant, guys like Aaron Gordon won't do it no more. Guys like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like the names
Listen,
go on and on.
I agree with you on Aaron Gordon 100%.
He should
Absolutely
be a
raw.
two-time
Raw.
dunk competition champion.
I agree.
Two-time.
Like,
He did better than Zach LaVine in both of them. I don't care what anybody says. I'm sorry,
listen.
but that sit in the air dunk, that should have
Oh,
been enough to
dude,
win it right
don't.
there. It should have been enough.
Like Kenny the Jetsman says, let's go home, man. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me, bro? Like,
Yeah.
I thought that one should have won the contest for sure.
Best dunk.
Like,
There's only been one better dunk or two better dunks in the one better dunk in the NBA competition, and it's the honey dip that Vince Carter did in the early 2000s. Other than that, There has not been a better dunk than Aaron Gordon's sit down in the air with the ball going. Second best dunk I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that 2016 dunk contest was the greatest dunk contest I think we could say of all time because
Nah,
excuse like
nah.
Zach
I
Zach
disagree.
LaVine free throw line in between the legs. Maybe
Yeah,
someone else who has done it. Like maybe someone else who has done it.
but the stuff
Don't get
that
me
Vince
wrong. The
Carter
Aaron,
did,
huh?
the stuff that Vince Carter did and Tracy McGrady and Steve Francis did.
Reverse Vince Carter's reverse 360.
But
That's
like
filthy.
it's not just Vince. If you look at the dunks that were in that dunk competition, Steve Francis and Tracy McGrady both did a hell of a job too. It's just that Vince was just on a different level. I
Yeah.
think that
Oh yeah.
that's the best. I think that's the best dunk competition that we've ever seen. And I literally saw a video on it the other day. Tracy McGrady talking to Kevin Garnett, asking him, "Hey, if it was a 1v1 dunk competition, who would win?" And he literally said Vince Carter. He was like, come on
Oh, there's no
now.
doubt.
He was like,
I wouldn't have a doubt in
because
my mind on that
because
one.
KG mentioned Steve Francis as well, and he was like, come on now, like say the name, say like the guy could fly, you know what I mean? And Kevin Garnett was like, you can fly too, you're Tracy McGrady, and he's like, I could jump, he can fly, and that's as real as I can get with it. You know what I mean? Vince Carter is just on the different level. Vince Carter is the best dunker we have ever seen in a dunk competition, and it won't be like that again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But like getting back to your point about Mac McClung, like, um, I mean, in a sense, it is you're trying to say it without saying it. Him being overrated is probably the best way to put that. I'm not saying Mac McClung isn't putting in work. I mean, he was second in the G League in scoring this year. JD Davison was fifth in the G League in scoring this year. So I'm not saying we're not saying no one in the G League is not putting in work. They're all trying. They all
Oh
have one
yeah,
common goal, and that's trying to get up to the top and trying to get
just
and play in the league.
some can get there and some won't get there. And yes,
Right.
McClung has an ability to get there in the dunk competition or whatever. But when we're talking about being a star in the NBA, he just does not have the defensive ability that other guys have, like JD Davison or whoever. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why McClung has not had an NBA contract in a few years, is because he can't play defense. JD Davison, you know, the Celtics drafted him for a reason, and it wasn't just for his hops.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's more there's I mean there's potential in everyone, but I see what you're saying there, and like just the last note I'm gonna touch on here is Mac McClung 6'2", 185 dripping wet. JD 6'1", 195.
Yeah, exactly.
That 10 pounds
Exactly.
is a massive difference, man. Like, and I'm not saying
Exactly.
one, like, obviously, like, yeah, 195, like, okay, we're not talking weight classes in boxing here, but like, when you go to the NBA, man, listen,
It's a
man,
different game. It's a different game.
the
Yep.
physicality is a lot different than down in the G League. Absolutely, man. You're right, though.
I agree. I agree. All right, that's been all for this dynamics on the hardwood. As always, I'm Live Zone, and you can find me on the East Coast Sports Investors profiles as well as X. You can find me Real Live Zone. Denzel, I'm gonna let you shout yourself out, and then we're gonna get going.
Yeah, where you guys could find me is on Deportes Diesel on X, daily NBA, MLB plays, every day. Deportes Diesel on X.
All right, all right. You have heard it here first. Live Zone Sports. We'll catch you next week. As always, you know you gotta stay tuned.